you have to put your body on. Did you see what Smart did him last night? He got into him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard if you're doing that as a player and Steph, because he's trying to get away. He's trying to fight. He's taking too much energy away from him. When you let him be free, you see what the first 3 quarters, what he did. In the first half, he was just free. Couldn't nobody stop him. What was he doing? He was stepping back, shooting threes, boom, boom, boom. Then when Smart got into him a little bit, it took away a lot of it because he was pressuring it. And then what does that do, Tommy? What it does is it makes the other people who got the basketball, if they see that Steph is getting really, really hounded, what do? They go away from it because they don't want to turn the basketball over. They don't want to give it to him. And then they try to do things that they can't do. And that's what happened.
I got a question in terms of, maybe you've thought about this, maybe you haven't, in terms of today's NBA and the 5-out concept. And you brought up a guy like Kyrie Irving or, Damian Lillard is another guy. Have you ever thought about like the difficulty of guarding them in space without hand checking?
I have.
And what's your thoughts on that? I'm curious.
The outcome of that is that with me, if I'm coaching them, JJ, I'll double them. I'll get the ball out of their hands. See, nowadays, what do all NBA teams do? They just switch. They put a big man on a guard. Then they try to say, guard this outstanding or excellent score. Ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So when we used to play, we used to hedge and just trap. Once we trap the basketball and get the ball out of his hand, what my job was to do is deny him not getting the basketball. Make it hard for him to get the basketball. Now I'll deny him and let them 4 other players play. Let them play. When you got a guy who we switch 5 times, and he scores on your big man 5 consecutive times, I don't know why you don't call a timeout and switch that mess up. Switch it. Don't switch it. Trap it. Trap it and get the ball out of his hand, and then make sure that these kids nowadays, they like to split the double. Make it come close enough where he doesn't split and he veers out towards the top, the half court.
You're talking about more of like a hedge coverage versus because nobody hedges anymore. Even when I first got in, there were teams that hedge. Every 4-man would hedge pretty much.
Absolutely,
nobody hedges anymore. Yeah.
Nobody steps out and hedge. All they do is just say, "Okay, switch," and the big man is on him. He's gonna get killed. He can't guard him. And then what you do, you get a mismatch. And then what he do? He breaks it down by penetrating, and then all the team sucks in. And what do y'all do nowadays in this era? Shoot nothing but threes.
Yeah.
And they just kicking it. And it's all open. Kick, open. That's what happened last night in the 4th quarter with Golden State and Boston. Jaylen Brown was just penetrating. And all of a sudden, he started kicking it. They started kicking it. Horford, wide open 3. White, wide open 3. Pritchard, wide open 3. And what was happening? They were knocking them down. And when they knocked them down, they went into a thing and it was all over. It took over and Golden State couldn't score and they turned the ball over. What happened? They stole the win.
Yeah, and I guess that's the conundrum as a coach in today's NBA is because we just did a YouTube Live Game 1 recap, and we talked about how Golden State, for example, when teams blitz Steph Curry, when teams trap Steph Curry, they are so good at maintaining that 5-out spacing. They throw the ball back to Draymond in the short roll. He goes downhill, and now he's 4-on-3, and you've got shooters, you've got a potential back cut out of the corner, and they've seen it so much now that it's not easy, but they continuously make the right read. And for players like Steph, Dame, Kyrie, that's the problem, I think, in today's NBA with trapping them. Like, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. Yes, you're taking the ball out of the best player's hands, but most teams don't have, I grew up watching the 90s, and I spend most of my YouTube time watching 90s highlights because that's what I love. But the spacing, you know what I'm talking about. The spacing was just different where you've got a 5-man in the paint. Your 4-man is probably somewhere, maybe the dunker spot, maybe at 15 feet. So guarding 4 people with 3 defenders was a tad easier because of that spacing. And I don't know. That's the conundrum in today's NBA with guarding great players.
But JJ, think about this. Even though it's a little different of trapping now, you don't have the kind of shooters that Golden State has on every team. Portland doesn't have it, and I don't think Kyrie has it. I think Kyrie has just KD,